Gestalt Institute of Cleveland program with all these wonderful teachers, and I knew I needed some therapy. So I picked Sonia. And I remember our first session. I walked in and I said, "Sonia, what's wrong with me?" Of course, Sonia, in her own way, she sat back and she thought about it. Then she walked over to me. She got up from her chair, which she didn't do that often, put her hand on my heart, and said, and she used what we call the phenomenological data. She said, "Joe, you're smart, you've got a great career, you're physically healthy, you've got a wonderful wife and 2 young kids, but you live in the world as if you were poor." I felt almost punctured. What wasn't obvious my entire existence became obvious in that moment. In that moment. She said the obvious, and it changed my life forever. In that moment, I stopped being poor. In that moment, I became very, very rich. I'd like to tell you one more story. Those of you who know Sonia and were at her office, she had a beautiful collection of glass figurines. Do you remember that? And people would just give them to her. And she collected them. And when somebody was ending therapy or terminating, she would often go to that person and she would say, "Pick out your favorite." And they'd walk over and they'd pick out the favorite and they'd hold this precious figurine. And then she would say, "Now I want you to break it." You hear your responses? That's how they would be. That's how they would respond. Some would be stunned, surprised, perplexed. And Sonia, as she would do, she would wait. And then people would say, "Why are you asking me to do this? Don't you care about that?" She said, "Oh no, I love that one. I remember who gave it to me. It's one of my favorites." Now that didn't help the people. So they asked again. And she would say, "A big part of life is learning to bear sensations. And one of the biggest sensations we all have to bear is that of loss." And she would have that person take the figurine and break it. And that's how she taught many, many people about loss. This is what many of us are doing here today. We're bearing the loss of Sonia. One more thing about Sonia. Sonia was an optimist. Those of you who've taken programs at the Cape Cod Model know that this building and our model is infused with optimism. And if you've read some of our articles, by optimism, she meant the courage to move into uncertainty, to try this, to try something that was a little bit different, and to see what happened. As a matter of fact, we used to use the word experiment when we taught, and she taught us to change it to try this. So, in ending, I'd like you to try something. You can't have an event here without an experiment, right? Okay, so you know the drill. Plant your feet. Take a breath. And I'd like you to picture one of those animal figurines that was either in Sonia's office or one that you owned. It could be from your childhood or from your imagination. And I'd like you to hold it in your hand, in your imaginary hand. And when you're ready, I'd like you to gently drop it and imagine it shattering. If she were here, she would want us to bear our loss together. Because as we all know, among all the very unique qualities about Sonia, she was always about relationship. So even though we are here to mourn her, we are also here to celebrate her life and the many ways she impacted us with her humor, her presence, and her wisdom. And now I would like to turn the microphone over to Melanie.
Okay. So many of you might know or not know that my mother she just had a very deep love and very deep connection to music. And that's something that I really shared with her. And so what I would like to do is share a song with you that really expresses, even better than words, what I'd like to say.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
Sonia, I'm Patricia Pappernow. Sonia was my Gestalt trainer in Cleveland and at Duck Creek Inn in Wellfleet. And when she moved from Ohio, there's a group of 3 of us, 2 of us are here, who were in supervision with her for years. And every now and then we talked about a client. We used to say we were supervising each other's souls. And whoever has said that she is with us, I probably quote Sonia once or twice or 3 times a week. Many of my clients know Sonia. And so I'm just going to tell you 2 or 3 of the things that I've kept with me. One of them was, be sweet to yourself. You know, I'd be in the middle of some angst. Be sweet to yourself. She taught me a lot about relationship, which I've passed on. Sharp elbows hurt more up close. How many times have I repeated that to my couples? And I remember her teaching us the choice isn't to be kind or to be honest, it's how to be both. I don't think that was her language, but she sure taught me that. And one of the things I've quoted many times is, we are vulnerable. We are all made of tissue paper, toothpicks, and rose petals. And one of my favorites, trust is made in many small experiences over time. And I've added to that with my clients is, I'm not asking you to trust, just to notice something new. So she has absolutely stayed with me and probably will continue. And sometimes I show them what she looked like, that she had short gray hair, and she would deliver, as like Joe said. She wouldn't just, she would shake her double chin and go. And so each thing landed.